welcome back, and today's experiment day. So today I'm going to show you how to do my personal dry lubrication slash cleaning method for skateboard bearings. And this is a method that I've developed over some time, and I don't think it's a common method. And to give you some context, I have an issue with wet lubricants for bearings. In my experience, all they're good for is picking up dirt, and especially with shielded bearings like these Bones Reds Big Balls, it renders the shields useless. After a certain point, they just collect dirt and begin to seize up. And so what we're going to do today is use a dry method and keep them shieldless, because after a while, you know, why keep the shields on? And plus, shieldless bearings are all trendy and whatever have you. So we're going to get right to the point. First, what you'll need is some graphite powder, which is a lubricant for car parts and stuff like that, and you can usually buy it at AutoZone. Today I bought it at O'Reilly Auto Parts for $2.69, so honestly really cheap, and you'd want to have a small tube like this because you really don't need much at all. And then the next thing you'll need is some sort of pin to pop the shields off. Something fine to get in between the bearing and the shield, pop it right off. And then the third thing you're going to need is a leaf blower, which I'll explain later why we need a leaf blower. And then if I'm also to insert a consumer reviews, so I've been riding Bones Reds for the longest time, has never failed me. I've decided to go with Bones Reds Big Balls because I had heard good things about them from Andy Anderson's testimonials, whatever have you. But if I'm going to complain right now, I've found a crack in the bearing casing, if you can see right here. I haven't even had these bearings for that long, and so, you know, I didn't want to start off on a negative note, but yeah, this is kind of anyhow, so let's just hope that this bearing survives the experiment. And alright, so let's get to popping these shields off. So you want to take your pin, get it right in there. Usually the shields come right off, and I personally like the aesthetic of shieldless bearings, and gives it a nice old school vibe, nice old school aesthetic. Pop off the shield. You can pretty much throw them away at this point, repurpose them, or put them back on if you so wish, but I mean, this is the whole point of this video, is for shieldless bearings. Alright, and I live in a particularly dusty region of Northern California, and I attribute that to my new bearings seizing up. And so usually I'll just buy Bones Reds and just keep them lubricated, or just like keep them with the standard stock lubricant and just run them until they start to seize up, and then that's when I employ this method. And this method has been done through trial and error. And alright, so we're going to keep popping these shields off. Alright, we got almost all of them. Alright. Next, we're going to open up our graphite lubricant, extra fine, dry powder, thus a dry lubricant, and get it out of the packaging. and then usually you'll have to puncture a hole at the top, and luckily we already have our pin right here, so we're just going to puncture a little hole, small hole if possible, because you don't want too much of this stuff coming out. You really only need like a very minimal amount. Okay, we got our hole punctured, kind of, let's see, and then now we just kind of want to like go around the bearing, spray just a tad bit in there. Sometimes it'll come plopping out, which you want to try to avoid that, but sometimes it just happens like that. You do want to use a somewhat generous amount so that it can kind of like get in there, get into the bearing and the caging. And then I forgot. So welcome to my laboratory where safety is #1 priority. Yes, eye covering is key. Sheesh. Good thing I'm only doing these kinds of things for fun. Okay, yeah, you kind of want to get a liberal amount, perhaps not a generous amount. Okay. Might have to repuncture the hole as the powder does kind of clog up the hole. Just stick it in once more. Shake it up a bit. Kind of plopped out on that one. Now kind of want to like tap it, work it through the bearing, rotate, tap, and it'll seem counterintuitive at first because the stuff will actually clog up the bearing, but we kind of want that to happen so that it can get into the bearing caging and around the ball bearings. And this method won't necessarily make your bearings any faster. Ultimately, what determines how fast your bearings go is the ABEC rating, or the skate rating in Bones products, and basically what that is are little tiny microscopic holes, and usually lower ABEC bearings have more of those microscopic holes, creating more friction, and higher ABEC ratings, faster bearings have less of those holes, so thus less friction and a faster bearing. I want to tap, work it in there. Alright, so I've clogged up my bearing now, and it seems counterintuitive, but the first thing you want to do is try to roll it out, roll it up on your surface. It'll eventually roll through, flip it over, roll through. Take your finger, roll it through. It's a bit windy today, if you ask me. It's messing up my hair. like want to work it through, even with your fingers right here, holding the center of the bearing, spinning the outer part. It'll eventually work itself through. It'll seem like you just effed up your bearings at first. You're gonna get graphite powder all over your fingers too, which is always fun. Alright, yeah, this one's kind of working through. It's also kind of taking out some of that wet lubricant at the same time. You definitely want that to happen, as the result of this will be a dry bearing, which is my preferred type of bearing. I've heard of Jamie Foy's method of putting his bearings through degreaser before he even runs them, which I have yet to test that, but yeah, this is my method right here. And I usually do this with red standards. This is the first time that I've done this with Bones Big Balls, and kind of the difference between Bones Standards and Bones Big Balls is that the Big Balls have 6 ball bearings as opposed to 7, and they're 17% larger, which the idea behind that is less friction and more rolling, which I suppose is possible, but knowing the crack that I have in one of those bearings, the one that's seized up, might have to go with the Swiss 6 next time, or a competitor. As a consumer, I can do that. And before you even start this, you want to already have removed the bearings from the wheels, which is something I did previous to recording. Work it through with your fingers. Roll it out a bit. Okay, this one's feeling nice. Kind of exactly how I want it to feel. Wind's starting to blow up my towel. This one might require an extra bit of work. This is the cracked one. Let's hope that there's hope for it. mind you, this crack was here before I even tampered with the bearings, so I am releasing myself of liability of product defect. Okay, now we're getting somewhere. Okay. Yeah, you really kind of have to work it through. And then, alright, you want to get them rolling. You want to get them rolling at least. And we're almost to the fun part where we use the leaf blower. Now this one's giving me trouble. This isn't even the cracked one. Yes, you want to use a liberal amount of the powder, also a minimal amount. As you can see, sometimes if you use too much, it'll just, oh, here we go. Alright, now here's the fun part. Here's why we're using the leaf blower now, because as I've learned through trial and error in the past, if you leave the excess graphite powder in the bearing, it'll start to eat away at the caging, and then you just compromise your bearing. So first we're just going to put it right up into the tip and put it on the highest setting that you can, and here we go. Process isn't quite over yet. There's still some in there, so we got to keep rolling it out, but you'll feel a significant difference. Keep rolling it out. Starting to get back to square one in terms of rolling level. See, we already feel the difference here. Alright, we want to run them through the leaf blower again because there's still a bit in there. We just want to make sure, and we'll feel even more of a difference. Keep rolling them out. And at first, they'll still feel like they're a little bit clogged, a little bit seized up, but the more you roll them out, the more the lubricant's going to work itself in there. And then honestly, what you can do is afterwards, after you put your bearings back in, go bomb a hill, have your dog pull you on your skateboard, go really, really fast some way, somehow, carve around the bowl, because then that's really what's going to work it through. We're getting somewhere. And with shieldless bearings, you get that nice whoosh sound, which is something I personally enjoy as well. This cracked one is the little blue engine, the little train that could. Okay. Alright. I hope you enjoyed watching my bearing cleaning method. We're going to test these out at the skate park, and we'll conclude this video with the end result. Alright, see you in a bit. As far as maintenance goes for your shieldless bearings, you virtually have to do nothing, or at least that's been my experience. Or in the cases that I've gotten dirt or mud or something accidental in my bearing, I just take a leaf blower to it, and that's one way to do it. Or you might just have to go through the whole process again. But I hope you enjoyed my bearing cleaning method video, and thanks for watching. Now go skate!